Hey, saltwater anglers, and welcome to the Lower Chesapeake Bay Fishing Report, your local report, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. This podcast is part of the Great Days Outdoors Network, and each week we'll be talking to local experts to learn ways we can become better anglers in our pursuits offshore, nearshore, and inshore. To keep this amazing fishery healthy and thriving for generations to come, remember to protect what you pursue. Summer fishing is fired up with warm water and hungry fish moving into the bay. So let's hear who's making the show possible, and then we'll jump into the reports. This podcast is brought to you by EMS and Indeck PVC decking. Hooks rust, lines tangle, the one that got away always does. Some things aren't meant to last. This isn't one of them. For coastal homeowners, marina and dock properties, and waterfront builders, Indeck delivers a premium finished surface without the constant upkeep. Indeck's capped cellular PVC dock and deck boards never rot, clean up easily with soap and water, and offer strong slip resistance in wet or dry conditions. Indeck, designed for what comes next. See the full line at pages.easternmetal.com/Great Days. All right, you guys, welcome to this week's show. It's heating up in terms of temperatures. Last weekend with the 4th of July was an absolute blazer. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out for the offshore bite. So I wanted to catch up with one of our awesome captains who spends pretty much all of his time fishing offshore, Captain Zach Castro, aboard Not Tugging. Welcome back to the show, Captain. It's been a minute. How you been?
I've been good. How are you?
Doing well, man. I've just really been enjoying this season of fishing so far. I've started to explore a few new things, and it's been neat to kind of get out to the windmills and see some blue water more often. I'm kind of starting to understand your obsession a little bit more. The further away from land, it seems like the more magic happens.
That is the fact. It is definitely a whole nother world out there, and definitely enjoyable.
That's awesome. Well, I want to talk about some magic that recently happened for you, but before we get into that, for folks that are tuning in and hearing your voice for the first time, tell us a little bit about Not Tugging, the kind of boat that you guys run and what you specialize in, what you're passionate about.
We are a 35-foot Carolina Classic express boat. Been I owned the boat for 5 years, been running charters on it for the last 5 years, and our primary target is tuna. That's our favorite thing to target, I should say. Offshore fishing is our main, thing we do and specialize in, but we offer everything from offshore to wreck fishing to inshore trips.
Nice, man. That's awesome. And you guys like to get into those tuna tournaments, don't you?
Oh yeah. That's when I'm not on the tug, or when I'm supposed to be on the tugboat and the tuna tournaments come around, I usually sneak away and get someone to cover me so I can fish the local tuna tournament.
That's awesome. I mean, we had a discussion about this last year around the same time. So tell us, man, what was your Virginia Beach tuna tournament experience this year? Shout out to Bob Sinclair and Bubba Fleming and Ewing and the whole group that put that show on. It is tournament on. It is a world-class event. Got to see so many great guys out there. But what was you guys' experience? I saw you there, and it was late at night, and you were still hanging out. And then the next morning at like 3:00 in the morning, I see a picture of Not Tugging heading out. I'm like, when did the guy sleep?
Yeah, we don't get much sleep around here. I'll tell you, Bob's tournament, it's our favorite tournament. He does an awesome job putting it on. We really enjoy it, fishing it every year. But this year, me and Jake Bolts on Flying Fish, we work together a lot offshore. Just fishing in general, but definitely offshore. We bounce a lot of stuff off each other, and we did not have high expectations in the tournament, honestly. Me and him were talking. We were like, man, one or two tunas might win this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And fishing started off like it was going to be all right. We had a couple great trips the very beginning of June. Actually won another local tournament. Got first place in that. So we had high hopes for the season, and then it just kind of petered out. But me and Jake had fished the day before the tournament and never had a single bite.
Oh.
So we made the long run, ran all the way to the fence, 85 miles from the CH buoy, and had a plan to set out just to try to get a couple tuna bites. And We got lucky and got two within the first 30 minutes of lines in the tournament. I'm sorry, caught three. One was a throwback. Within the first 30 minutes of lines in, and luckily the sharks weren't bad yet. And they was shark on them. We hooked another fish that we pulled off, and then we had another one that either immediately got sharked or hooked the shark or a wahoo. We're really not sure. The leader was definitely cut.
Man.
But it was slow fishing. We were very fortunate for the few bites we had, and one of them I was embarrassed to take the scales. I told the guys we're not going to go. It was only 17 pounds, and our total weight was 54 and some change, and we held on to 5th place all the way in to the last day.
Wow. And I'm curious, what constitutes, you said you had a throwback. What constitutes a throwback tuna?
So yellowfin have to be a minimum of 27 inches curved fork length.
Okay.
And the throwback we had was only 25 inches for the curved fork length. And, you can't risk keeping nothing like that. One, it's illegal, and two, you're in the tournament. So
Right. Man, curved fork length is not something you can say 5 times fast, but it is important. It's a good reminder to make sure, like, whatever you're fishing for, that you are current on your bag and size limit and possession rules each day. But you said you're embarrassed to weigh the one. Why was that? You really thought it was not worth taking to the scales?
I really did. I mean, usually when you're tuna fishing, especially in a tournament, you're looking for your 50, 60-pound class yellowfins and stuff like that. I mean, I've never heard of a 30-inch, 17-pound fish. I would never in a million years thought would have held in a tournament, especially where there's a couple, people got lucky and did hook some big eyes. There were some nice fish caught. But the bottom line is there's 114 boats, and I want to say 23 or something like that total fish were caught. That's counting wahoo and dolphin calculas.
Wow. That's crazy. Yeah. You would expect to see, and especially I go back to last year where the dock was mobbed each day with people lined up with trash cans. And I mean, literal trash cans full of ice and tuna, because there were so many fish to be weighed, but every single fish was like cookie cutter, the exact same size. And then fast forward 1 year, and it was, absolutely a desert out there. And then, I mean, my heart broke when I talked to my buddy Alex Field, who fished with Jake and the crew. Broke for him because, I mean, to get sharked and have that many solid quality bites, and then I use the term like get kicked in the nuts on top of that, to have, a mechanical issue that you had to be safe and come in on one motor, which took 9 hours for them. I mean, that's a tough, hard day. But I just say that out of respect for them, because that is some hard and perseverance to go through all that and still want to go back out there the next, day. Talk me through your experience at the scales. So you weigh your fish, you find out you're in 5th place overall in terms of the tournament leaderboard. But then, of course, there's Calcuttas that are a separate category.
Well, we were 3rd place. That put us in 3rd place on day one.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Or, I'm sorry. Was it 3rd place?
I think it was.
I think it was 3rd. I think we were 3rd. Yeah, we were 3rd place on day one. And then we went to 4th place on day 2.
Yep.
And we were, I think, the only boat all in. So we were, as of Friday, I think we were sitting at $128,000 or something like that until Friday or something. Yeah. And
with those two fish.
With those two fish. And I could have it wrong. It may have been Friday we got knocked down. But either way, into Saturday, until Saturday night, we were looking at, until the last boat weighed, we were looking at still $64,000 for 5th place. But we were, at that point, I think, 2nd place in the Calcuttas.
Why does that feel like the whole deal or no deal, where like the banker calls and it's like, all right, Zach, you were at 120. You're now at 68. Will you take the deal?
It's like
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
that's terrible to watch the number come down, but at the same time, you're still probably sitting there just like overwhelmed with gratitude that like those two fish are even worth $1. You know what I mean?
Right. I never in a million years thought, I was like, we weighed our core third. That'll be gone by tomorrow. You know what I mean? Whatever. We got our name on the board, it
Yeah,
showed out. We caught a few fish. It's great.
yeah,
And for that to hold, I was like, holy cow.
yeah.
Did not expect that at all. And one boat, it didn't really affect us because he wasn't all in either. One boat did get disqualified for a fish, and they weren't all in, so we still would have been in the money even if they didn't get disqualified. So
Gotcha.
we'd have just dropped down. We would have been, I think, sixth place overall, but I think we still would have been third place in the Calcuttas.
Which is the bigger payout than the actual like tournament payouts.
Correct. That's where all
Yeah.
of our money came from, was just because only first place and second. I'm sorry, first place. No, first place was not all in. That was leased up.
Yep.
Then second place was Roanoke.
Uh-huh.
They were all in, and then Freestyle, I think it
That
was
came in at
all
the
in, and they got
last minute.
no. The Roanoke came in at the last minute. Freestyle
Roanoke. Okay.
weighed. Yeah, I think Freestyle weighed. I think it was Freestyle. Well, anyway, they weighed or whatever, and they were third place because they were all in.
Okay.
Third. Yeah, I want to say third, and
Got
so
it.
that knocked me into third place Calcutta's, fifth place overall.
Yeah, and you mentioned a disqualified fish or team. What kind of thing? I mean, I didn't hear about anything. There was nothing malicious or intentionally illegal or anything like that. But I know there's some fine tooth details in some of the rules. What can cause a disqualification like that?
So any mutilated fish,
Okay,
if anything that causes mutilation, whether it be sharks, a propeller, anything.
got it.
And there were questions with that. Obviously, everybody knows that about that.
Yeah.
And then everything goes to a lie detector test. They pass the lie detector on that.
Yep.
Well, I don't know the full story on it. I didn't get involved, but apparently there was a video submitted for money for using a gas, because Marshy Tacky Carbon, I guess, was giving out $2,500 whoever gaffed the first fish with one of their gaffs.
Okay.
Well, I'm guessing in that video there was evidence of assisting an angler. They didn't know. It's just a misunderstanding in the rules, but IGFA rules are fine, cut and dry, printed rules that anybody can find, and it was just a slip up.
Yeah. Yep.
And they ended up getting disqualified for assisting the angler, and everyone thought the fish was truthfully going to get disqualified for mutilation.
Gotcha.
He said it was a bad gaff shot. It is what it is. I said my piece with them, and but I'm the kind of person that's going to say what's on my mind. I don't want someone to think I'm talking behind their back. So when
Right.
I saw him that night, I asked him,
Yeah.
and I said, you got the lie detector test, and everything will come out. So don't worry about it
Yep.
then. And
Yeah.
they
Yep.
passed on that. So that it is what it is.
Hmm.
But unfortunately, they did that. That was an awesome fish. I mean, 200, almost 200-pound big eye is a
Ooh.
good day.
So that was the
You
fish
know,
that had to be disqualified, was the 200-pound big eye, essentially.
yeah, and
Wow.
that, I mean, but they're like, I told them, I was like, well, don't, put your head in your ass, but take your win. You caught the biggest fish in the tournament out of 114 boats.
Right.
And
Yep.
there's a lot of bad blood, I guess, between a lot of people when that happened. But bottom line is rules are rules.
It is a
It's on.
that's a tough spot to be in as a tournament director. I've had to be in that spot before too. And it's like, you want to show empathy and you want to hope, for the best. Cause like I said, nobody's like doing anything intentionally wrong, but at the same time, in those situations, you are forced to uphold the standard. It's
Right.
like when a cop pulls you over and you're drunk, and then turns out, he knows you and you guys were high school buddies, and you once saved his life on the track field because he was, passing out. He's like, but your blood alcohol is, 1-4, bro, you still got to go to jail. It's just rules are
Yep,
rules.
exactly.
But yeah, that's tough to hear, but it's also, again, back to Bob and his team and it being a world-class tournament. When you're putting a lot of money on the line, you also want to know that you're playing inside of a very fair sandbox. And that's encouraging
Right.
too, to hear that, everything is taken seriously and you got professionals reviewing it. The lie detection is done by, I believe, still David Goldberg, who's a local, been doing it for years. He's an expert interviewer. And he'll always say, I talked to him on the podcast one time, you can beat a lie detector test, but you can't beat a experienced examiner. And that's the big
Correct.
difference there. So, but man, so then it came down to the final night, the final clock strikes, the scales are closed, and you guys landed in third place. And what was the total purse that you guys ended up winning with those magical 2 small fish?
We ended up winning $32,000 for those 2 little fish. Yeah, definitely was not expecting that.
No, it's not every day that you can weigh 54 pounds of fish and what, get paid a little over 1,000. No, almost what is that?
Everyone's getting $3,200.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the price per pound, whatever that rolls out to.
One of my, I don't know if it's right or not, but one of my guys ended up doing it was like $580 something per pound.
That's
for
awesome.
the fish or something here. Yeah, it's something like that. I mean, it was
yeah,
a
you
lot.
would basically take $32,000 and divide it by 54 pounds. So yeah, it's like right at $600 a pound. So it's almost like you.
It was $590.
Yeah, it's almost like you sold them to Japan.
That's right.
Highest price at auction.
When you're on the water, your boat deck should work as hard as you do. Deck It Hampton Roads offers custom non-skid marine flooring solutions built for comfort, traction, and a clean finished look. Whether you fish hard, cruise with the family, or spend long days barefoot on deck, Deck It helps make your boat safer, cooler, and more comfortable underfoot. Their process includes digital scanning, CAD design, CNC precision cutting, and professional installation for a custom fit instead of a one-size-fits-all solution. Ready to upgrade your boat? Call Deck It Hampton Roads at 434-378-8004 for an estimate and to see how good your deck can look and feel when you deck it out.
Well, man, congratulations again. And obviously, you guys are no stranger to the podium. And I think that comes from years of, experience, education, continuous learning. So talk us through like a typical tuna fishing trip on Not Tugging. Like what's our tackle setup? How many rods do we have out? What kind of water are we looking for, whether that's temperature or chlorophyll? Just talk us through the day and the preparation. Maybe a recreational angler like myself or somebody else might pick up a nugget or two to help be more successful in our next trip.
As we've talked, and a lot of people get kind of shocked on it. We run a 13 rod spread on my boat. Average is 12. If it's slow day, we'll throw a 13th rod to get a deep rod down. So we got a lot of baits, a lot of tackle to get ready. The night before, we're getting all of our tackle rigged up, rods ready. We run all wind-on leaders, a lot of sea witches, squid chains, bars, spreader bars. And once we get our baits prepped and all the tackle ready, I'm usually talking with boats fishing, or if I was fishing, we're looking at sat shots, if your water temperature and your chlorophyll. Earlier in the year, you're more targeting a water temperature, a temperature break out there.
Mm-hmm.
As the summer goes on, you're going to progress more to either bait or a chlorophyll. So say like last year, fishing was phenomenal. We were fishing temperature breaks and then the chlorophyll, and then tunas just got everywhere. They were just everywhere.
Yeah. Even I caught one.
I felt we couldn't troll and not catch a tuna last year. All the way through mid-August, we were coming in with limits of yellowfin. And
Wow.
It was absolutely the most insane tuna fishing I've experienced. And then you got this year. We're not doing nothing. Well, we are. I mean, we've had great catches, especially for the fishing we've had on our boat. But So right now you're more focused on looking at chlorophyll and wherever you can find bait and beating it up. We haven't had a good push of tunas. There is plenty of bait around. Just the tunas haven't made it to us really to get them in on the bait. But that is your main thing. You're looking for either water temps early in the year, and then you transition to your chlorophyll. Obviously, as later in the summer goes, your marlin will push down the bluer water and the chlorophyll, and your mahi as well. So we're looking for that. Watching the weather, obviously, sometimes the weather will dictate where you fish. If you got a hard north wind, you're probably not going to run to the north. You're going to kind of go as far north as you can get without taking a beating all the way, and then maybe troll that way.
Right.
So, you're looking at that, and then we leave for charters at 4 a.m., and then we come back that evening, to the dock, getting cleaned up by 5 o'clock, getting everything cleaned up, ready to go.
Yeah.
But, it's a 12-hour day out there fishing and on the boat, and we put in all the effort, and right now with tuna fishing being slow, if people, I give them the option. Look, we can keep trolling it out and see if we find a troll bite if it is slow, and if not, then give them the option. We'll go hit the bottom and at least catch some tilefish to bring meat home.
Right, and that's not anything
it's
to.
A long day.
Yeah, and that's not anything to turn your nose up at. Some tilefish is some of the best eating out there. Blue line's golden. It doesn't matter. That's delicious too. But there is something special
just for friends and family.
Right, but there is something special about a tuna bite. So you can stop a bottom fish, or you have faith and keep going, man. I'm a big fan of grinding it out and trying to get that bite, because once you hear that rigger pop and you hear that clicker go, I mean, I don't know that there's a more special sound on the planet.
There's nothing like it, in my opinion. I mean, it just does something to me. I'm in the tower. Like last year, it was so good. It was just, when you didn't think you were going to catch fish, you were getting tunas last year, and I'd be in the tower on my boat. I'd start laughing. Just like, this is insane. Just steadily getting bites.
Yeah.
But I mean, grinding it out definitely pays off. I mean, there was one day me and Jake Bolts were out there. We each had a charter, and we went and ran south, because I think I'd caught him there like the day before, a couple of days before or something. I caught him down south, and him ran down there again. And I think he had like 1 bite, 2 bites or something like that. And I think I might have missed 1 bite, and that was it. Like, it was brutal. My group was over it. They were like, "Can we go do something else?" I'm like, yeah. So me and Jake, we ran up and we went and tile fished for a little bit. I think we caught our limit of tile fish in like 30, 45 minutes. And then me and him had talked on the phone, and we decided to run inshore and look for some more tunas in another spot that nobody had fished that year. And I ran in there just ahead of him. I was like 10, 15 minutes ahead of Jake. He comes in, I go one way, he goes the other. I'm marking bait, he marks bait, then he marks tunas, then he gets hit. He's like, all right, I got him right here. So I circle around, then I'm getting hit. I think in 30 or 45 minutes of tuna fish, that's all I had before my trip was over. And I had to get in, because I had something else I had to take care of that night. We ended up catching, I think, 8 or 9 yellowfin. And I never had a full spread out. And we literally had schools of tuna in the wheel wash. Like my mate Hunter, he had a little tangle on my mid-rigger and another bait. And the line went from my mid-rigger, had a loop in the water, and then the hook was in the boat. And there was a school of tunas swatting at the bubble trail from that line dangling in the water behind the boat. I'm talking like 10 feet behind the boat.
That's incredible.
That's
amazing.
Threw a hook out. He threw a Joe shoot out there, just a bare hook, no value on it, and a tuna piled on it. And it was one of those days. Jake had the same thing. I think Jake got to fish like another hour maybe, and he ended up getting a limited tunas. I mean,
wow.
I had to leave. He got a full boat limit. But, man, it was just unbelievable fishing. And, everyone comes back, why'd you catch tilefish if you had all those tunas? Well, funny story. We had to catch tilefish first because there's nothing going on.
Right. That is a great story of, persevering and then triumph. I've experienced similar, with Cobia fishing, but more recently with, getting offshore a little bit more. Like it's just fun when it's fun when fish are hungry, and then you do
Yeah.
the work to find them and finding hungry fish. Like you're talking about that moment where you're just laughing and then high fiving with your buddies. Like that is truly what it's all about. And you got to go. You can't expect it to happen the first time you go, or if you book a charter.
No.
Like there's no guarantees, but like the way I've always thought about it is like I went fishing with my buddy Andy. He was on the show last week, and he's super experienced with fishing, wrecks and stuff offshore. And so like being with an experienced captain when things were slow and we didn't know what to do, it's like he has so many different data points from experience to draw on to be like, hey, let's make a move, let's do this, let's change up the weight, and it's like those are things that as a recreational angler, either A, we wouldn't think about or know to do, or B, even if we thought about it, wouldn't have the confidence to actually execute on it. And that's where being on a
Right.
charter boat with a charter captain, you're making those decisions and you're making those moves and you're being decisive because you know from experience if it's worth it or not.
Right. And I'll tell you, it's funny. So that group I had, they were like super against wanting to get back on the troll because they're like, we just want to fish. I'm like, well, look, I was like, there's not much else we can do out here. I was like, you caught your limit of tilefish. I'm like, I'm not going to let you just keep killing fish because if we even went to catch and release, they're going to die. I was like,
Right.
we're not doing that. I was like,
Yeah.
look, I was like, we can go in and go sea bassing if you want, but I'm telling you, I think I can find some tunas. I said I've caught them every day, and they finally agreed to let me go in there, and that's when I talked to Jake, and we made the decision to run in there. He was doing it regardless because his charter was some friends he had that chartered the boat, so he had a little more persuasion with them, and
Right.
and they finally they were ecstatic though once we went in there and got that first tuna bite. But they were all there. Like once we went in there, you could tell they were all like bummed at first. Went and laid down. And I'm like, come on, guys. I said, just give it some time. And we found them luckily. And then they were. I mean, they didn't know what to do. They'd
That's
never seen
amazing.
something like that.
It's such a cool
but it's
experience.
definitely put in the time and it rewards. And don't be scared to change something up.
Right. Yeah. You talked to me and my friend Dave about understanding some differences like between a center console and a stern drive, diesel. And one of those big differences is the pitch, meaning like the noise in the water of the RPMs of a center console and outboards to achieve a trolling speed versus that of a stern drive diesel. Talk us through that difference and then also kind of those ideal trolling speeds and distances from your boat to run your spread.
So an outboard requires a lot more RPMs to make a speed. Your goal speed, I should say, is about 6 knots, give or take, a little bit, but right around 6 knots for tuna fishing. The way I suggest everybody, and everyone does stuff different. I fish with a lot of people, they'll change their boat speed. It's just, that's not how I do. I'll find in like calm water, I'll find where my boat trolls about 6 knots. And I know what RPM that was. That's every boat I've had. And I stick with that because if you think about it, you might be going against the current and only making 3 or 4 knots. Well, your baits are still moving across the water at 6 knots. So find your RPM of what works, and that's what you stick with. And it's always worked for me. It's worked for me in center consoles. I caught very well with my old center console. And then I did the same thing with this boat, and it's worked very well. Is it the answer to all? No, I can't say that. But that is what I do, and it works. With a center console being in the higher RPMs, you're going to have more whitewater, wheel wash behind the boat. So you might need to run your baits a little further back than you might have to on a big boat that has less wheel wash.
Got it.
So a big boat has clean wheel wash, which means you can typically run your baits a little closer to the boat. Like my boat now gets a lot of flat line and short rigger bites. But it has a real clean wash and it has a good engine tone that the fish like.
Definitely heard about that. Boats raising fish.
Yep. Some boats raise them, some don't. Another big thing is You don't want propsing. You don't want bad cutlass bearings. You want to make sure everything is running true and smooth as possible, because any bad vibrations, noises underneath your boat could deter a fish. I mean, it's no different than a real annoying noise to you outside the water. It's going to be like that in the water to a fish.
So what I hear you saying is you don't want to be on a boat that has bad vibes.
Correct. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bad vibes, bad vibrations. And so
Correct.
go back a little bit, because you said something that made me scratch my head, and I can't be the only one that doesn't understand this at first go. But you talked about seeing, 3.5 knots, but then the speed of your baits over the water. Walk us through again, break that down a little bit simpler so that we can understand that.
So the water moves, and it's currents. It's the current, which is how fast the water moves. Offshore, you have a north-south current. If you're in the Gulf Stream, it's typically a south to north current, which could run as high as 4 knots, 5 knots.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you don't want to make one knot going against it. So I never try to go north or south, just like straight line. But say you have a 3-knot south current.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but for example, my boat, 720 RPMs puts me right around 6 knots trolling on my boat. All right, I'm out of the current. I know I make 6 knots at 720 RPMs. So when I get in that current and I start going north against the current, I may drop down to 3 knots because there's a 3-knot south current, and I was making 6 until I turned against it. Well,
Okay.
I'm making 3 knots ahead, and the water's making 3 knots astern, like south of me, going against me. That would mean my baits are moving across that 6 knots.
Oh, I see. Yep.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, and those fish would be swimming potentially against that current after those baits, which means they're experiencing that same bait speed through water ratio that your boat is.
Correct. Now,
Got
is
it.
that the right answer? I don't know, but that's the way I look at it. That's the way I look at it, and it works.
Yeah.
Because I do know if you speed up, so like think about it this way: you got your baits, you know your baits are swimming good at 6 knots too.
Yeah.
Because you can see it. All right.
Yeah.
If I get into a 3-knot current and I speed up to making 6 knots, my baits start skipping, like they're coming out the water, like I'm hauling ass, like going real fast.
Right.
Which would put me at 9 knots.
Mm-hmm.
Most boats at 9, 10 knots, you're starting to get ready to get on a planing speed.
Right. And you're turning a
So
higher
your baits
RPM.
are coming out. Yep. And you're making dirtier water. Your baits are skipping. They're not swimming anymore. And that's how I've kind of came to that, is watching what my baits are doing in that water with and against the current. All right. So let me put it this way. All right. You're going with the current, a 3-knot current, the same. You're going with a 3-knot current. You're doing 6 knots. Well, now you're doing 9 knots going with the current, right?
All right.
Your baits should still swim the same.
Right.
But if I slow down 3 knots to make me going 6 knots across, on my GPS, my baits are like fluttering behind me because they're now only doing 3 knots in the water.
Right.
Because the water's going with them.
Right. And if I was thinking about like swimming, so if I pictured myself swimming, then obviously tuna fish are swimming, their level of effort, it's almost like, let me back up. You've figured out that when a bait is moving through the water at 6 knots, that is ideal. That seems to be the time when the tuna are willing to bite. So if I'm swimming in the water as a tuna fish, it's all kind of relative to their level of effort that they're willing to give to follow a bait, chase a bait, and bite a bait. So that calculation you're talking about, to me, the way it equates is like if we were pulling faster against a current to try to maintain 6 knots, which means we're now actually pulling it 9 knots through the water, pulling it faster through the water, that tuna fish would have to be already swimming against the current at its normal, 6-knot pace. And now it's trying to work that much harder against the current to catch up to those baits. They might not do that. And then the same goes as if the baits are with the current and they slow down, they may not look enticing enough anymore for that tuna to want to pursue it, because that just doesn't suit them. Is that kind of
Right.
what goes through your mind when you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, yes, it's just essentially yes. I mean, it's not so much of what the tuna will do. Because I mean, I've heard of tunas being caught at 9 or 10 knots. On a true 9 or 10 knots.
Right.
Going across the current, not with or against it. And a tuna can hit faster. It's just your baits begin not look natural. Everything is a presentation out
Got it.
here. It's
Got
all
it.
about presentation. And if your bait is fluttering instead of swimming, that doesn't look like a bait fish a tuna's going to eat. It doesn't look natural. But when you got a bally who's swimming, tail kicking, pulling at what you have set, the troll. I mean, you may be able to knot or two faster, and your bait still look good if you got a heavier head that keeps it down. But the
Right.
second you slow down going with that current, that bait is no longer swimming; it's just fluttering back there, and that doesn't look natural.
Right. Okay. That makes
It's
sense.
all everything is presentation to me out there. That's all of it.
Got it.
And I
Got it.
get that the presentation keeping my speeds right, moving through the water. So like, if I want to go north, I'm going to zigzag northeast, northwest, northeast, northwest.
Mm-hmm.
So that way I'm not just bucking the current. Or if I want to go south, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to do more like east, southeast, east, or west, southwest, or something like that. You know what I mean? So
Right.
that way the
Mm-hmm.
current's already pulling me down, but I am covering more ground going zigzagging in and out.
Right. And you're not having to like compensate as much to maintain those baits looking good in the water, 6 knots. It's some
Right.
sort of a little bit of a middle ground.
Yeah, well, like I said, I never touch my RPMs. The only time my RPMs will change on my boat is when we're fighting a fish.
Got it.
And I'll slow down. So like I'm at 720 RPMs when I'm trolling. We get a bite, I'll pull them back to both clutch to head. After we get as many bites as we can. All right, if they're not gaining, I'll pull one engine out of gear and I'll just stay ahead on one engine and I'll just bump that one engine in and out as we get closer. But I
Okay.
keep the boat in motion at all times. The second that fish is in the boat, both engines are ahead. I bump her back up to 720 RPMs, and that's where
Mm-hmm.
she stays until we get hooked up again.
Okay. So dumb guy in the
Yeah.
room asking the dumb guy in the room question. If my boat stays at, let's just call it, my center console, for example, is probably going to be closer to like, probably 2000 RPMs, or maybe to maintain that speed. So if I'm at
Yeah.
1500 RPMs and I point my nose directly into that north to south current, am I going to be still making the right amount of speed, or do I need
Yep.
to? Okay, got it. So that's where
I
that
wouldn't touch it.
ratio.
So
Okay, that makes sense now.
yeah, so east to west, or before you even get into any current, figure out what that RPMs. If you stick with that RPM when you're going, whether you're making 3 knots or 9 knots out there, if you stick with the same, around 6 knots out of the current, you should catch fish.
Gotcha. We lost a little bit of that. I know you're actually on a tugboat. You are tugging,
Yeah.
currently tugging. So it broke up a little bit there. If you could run through that just one more time for us.
If you take your boat and figure out outside the current that what gives you a goal of 6 knots, so whether it's 5.8, 6.1, 6.2, find around a 6 knot speed that it gets you. Most center consoles I've been on put you at around 1500 RPM range in and outboard. If you find that and you get in that current, whether you're making 3 knots or 8 knots, keep it at that RPM that you achieve 6 knots at outside that current, and you should catch fish.
Got it. Okay, that makes perfect sense now. The reason I kind of belabored that is because it's one of those things where like people really need to get their head wrapped around it. To again, back to that difference of the recreational versus the charter captain. Like you'll be decisive, you'll stick to that plan. You won't deviate because we haven't gotten a bite in a while. Let me just randomly start trying to go 1900 RPMs. You're gonna stick to that plan and be persistent in that way. And then in terms of the spread, I know everybody can do it differently. Some people have outriggers, some people don't. Some people will run 6 rods. Some people run 13 rods that have that ability. Um, do you have a preference in terms of like working backwards from your flat lines to your short riggers, to your long riggers and your shotgun. Do you have a preference in which types of lures and weighted lures that you use, or side tracker bars, based on whether it's sitting in the flat line or the short rigger and so forth?
My boat, I run my thread pretty much identical every single trip. The only thing I may change is a color or a type of a sea witch, whether it's a Sea Star, an Islander, or a hand-tied sea witch is about the only difference I will change.
Okay.
My flat lines, I run a heavier head, anywhere from 1 ounce to a 3 ounce on my flat lines. That's just to get them down below that white water a little bit more. And, big eyes like to hit closer to the boat typically.
Got it.
I think on my boat, I've only had one long rigger bite on a big eye. Or I'm sorry, I think I've had two. I've only caught one big eye off the long rigger. All my big eyes have either been a mid rigger or a short rigger. And I think I might have had one flatline bite on a big eye, but all of them have been mid riggers and short riggers.
That's interesting.
Yep. So I run a heavier head on my flats. Then the next thing back is going to be my tracker bars.
Mm-hmm.
And then directly behind the tracker bars, I run a Sea Witch or a Sea Star. And then in my mid rigger, I have a Switching. And my long rigger, I have a Sea Witch. And then my short shotgun, I have either a Sea Star or a Sea Witch. And my long shotgun, I will usually always have some form of chain back there, almost religiously. And then I also run teasers, which they go out and they drop right in front of my tracker bars. And then some days I'll run a dredge, and the dredge runs just in front of and below the teasers.
And ladies and gentlemen, that is how you develop a $20,000 spread.
Yeah.
I just, every time you're talking about each thing, I just could hear cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. But that's how you catch fish.
Painful to see. It's painful to see my spread sometimes.
Go walk into a Ocean's East or a Long Bay Point or a Princess Anne Tackle, or definitely not a Bass Pro Shop. It'll be even worse there. But go look at one of those side tracker bars. Cost just one of them. It'll make your eyes get big. I mean, nothing about a spread is cheap. But again, it kind of points back to, for me, the value of a charter is that all of that stuff is built into the price, plus the experience, the safety stuff, the proven boat that's out there every single day, making it happen. So, folks are thinking about trying to go out there themselves, and maybe their vessel's not quite prepared for that run, or they don't quite have all the tackle, or they just don't have a boat and would love to charter and get out there in the blue water with you guys. What kind of trips are coming up here in July, August, September? And if they want to book one of those, how do they go about booking that?
We're pushing for our offshore still in July. We're hopeful we'll get some mahi to show up, in good numbers. Some marlin. There has been a lot of marlin catches around, so we'll be kind of changing gears, I feel like, to that. I'm still hopeful some tuna are going to push in, or maybe get close enough I can run and chase them. We have, I think, one weekend day available in July, and I don't think any available in August. We have a few weekdays available. But they can reach me at my cell phone at 757-685-6873, or they can look us up on Facebook or Instagram at Not Tuggin' Sport Fishing, or our website at nottugginsportfishing.com.
So, man, well, as we wrap up, I just want to say thank you for coming on the show. Congratulations on your big win in the tournament. It's amazing what two small fish can do. And congratulations on being a newlywed as of last fall to you and Brittany, the new Miss Castro.
That's right.
And yeah, man, you guys make it look easy. I wanted to. That'll be the next big. That'll be the big boat. We'll have the not tugging and the not easy.
That's right.
Tell our listeners your favorite. It could be big tuna. It could be crazy tuna. But your favorite tuna story, your favorite tuna fish that you ever caught.
I don't know. I mean, the craziest one I'd say that I caught was when me and my buddy Rich, he was my mate at the time, we had a charter, and it was during the Ocean City Tuna tournament, and we hooked a 272-pound big eye, and my charter didn't want to fight it. They couldn't fight it. They just tapped out. So me
Oh
and my
no.
mate had to keep fighting the fish, and finally I was like, I'm gassed. I was like, here, this is y'all's trip. Fight the fish. And they finally got it in, and I get up in the tower because we're kind of straight up and down with the fish at this time. And my mate's down there, and I'm up in the tower bumping the boat and out of here, and a shark chased this big, giant big eye up to the surface, and it took one little bite out of its tail. And I'm in there starstruck how big this thing is, just popped up out of the water like that. And
Yeah.
I start backing down on it, and my mate's like reaching, like goes to talk to me about it. He goes, "Where are you at? Get down here now!" I'm like, "Oh shit!" I go flying down the ladder, get there, and we helped him gap it, and we got it this big fish in the boat. Like, so it was 272 pounds. I'd say that was probably one of my crazier ones because I don't usually get starstruck just staring at a fish,
Mm-hmm.
but I was just in like shock when I saw that thing pop up out of the water like that. I'm like, I did not expect that. We caught that fish in I think 45 minutes on a stand-up 50.
Dang.
And
Oh, a
yeah,
50?
we whipped
Oh
up
man.
on a 50. Yeah.
That's
And then
that's some serious work for the angler.
yeah, and then hands down, still my favorite trip I've ever been on was last year when the tuna fishing was real good. And Brittany, she had wanted to do a trip, just me and her on the boat. So we took the boat out, went offshore fishing, just the two of us. And we could only fish till 11 o'clock, so we had stuff to do. I think I had a charter that evening or something, an inshore charter. And
Mm-hmm.
me and her went 5 for 9 on yellowfin and a gaffer dolphin, just the two of us on the boat, running a 10-rod spread that day, and came home at 11 o'clock.
Wow.
And in August of all times.
That's pretty stinking impressive. Well,
Yeah.
folks, you heard it here. If you want to go have one of those potential experiences, definitely get out with Captain Zach. Man, I'm excited to see what you guys do this summer. I really hope and pray that the bite picks up here. Hopefully, some good water will push in, and I'm really interested to see what these windmills do. I've been filleting a lot of flounder recently, and I've been
Mm-hmm.
opening up their stomachs, and I'm consistently finding large, 6 to 7 inch long whole squid. So if those squid are
Oh,
starting
wow.
to stack in around the bottoms of those windmill bases, I feel like at some point those tuna and maybe some mahi are going to hone in and start to populate that area. It's not too far from the fingers. So be interested to see what happens.
I think if we get a few fish to push in, I think they'll be in there. There's been a lot of sand eels around. Tunas love sand eels, and there's been a
Hmm.
lot of squids around. So I'm confident if we get some fish to move in, the tuna fishing will turn on, especially near shore again. But I definitely still owe you a trip for your party favor for our wedding last year. So I'm hoping it turns on so I can get you out there.
Man, I'll come out. I'll be your second mate. I'll scrub toilets. I'll do whatever it takes, man. I'll just be happy to get out there with you guys. So, man, thanks
That's
again for
right.
being on the show, and wish you guys tight lines in the coming days and weeks.
Absolutely.
All right, folks, that's going to wrap up a really fun recap with Captain Zach Castro aboard Not Tugging Sport Fishing. Definitely check him out on the socials. If you've not been fishing with him before, book a trip. He's a lot of fun. He works really hard to get those bites. Y'all stick around for a quick word from our sponsors who make this content free and accessible for you each week. If you're enjoying it, give it a like and a subscribe, or share it with a friend. We'll be back with you real soon.
Turn your dock into more than just a place to park your boat with Slipski's Dorado Oasis cover. Engineered for both beauty and protection, the Dorado Oasis transforms your dock into a shaded, all-weather living space, perfect for relaxing by the water or entertaining friends. Built from marine-grade aluminum and premium fabric, it also provides year-round protection from sun, rain, and debris. Whether you're lounging dockside or keeping your boat covered and ready to go, Slipski delivers comfort, convenience, and peace of mind. Slipski, think outside the boathouse. Visit slipski.com. The days of heading out and blindly looking for good fishing areas are pretty much over. Don't waste time and money on fuel searching for fish. What you need are the most recent, highest resolution images to not only know where to go, but where not to go. The knowledge provided by today's technology is critical when planning an offshore fishing trip. So make the choice that captains all up and down the East Coast make and choose Hilton's Real-Time Navigator. The easy-to-use interface and excellent customer service will have you on the fish every time you go. Check them out at hiltonsoffshore.com. Boaters know the unexpected can happen. That's why Seato offers 24/7 on-water assistance with priority service for members. Whether it's a dead battery, running out of fuel, engine trouble, or needing a tow, Seato's fleet is ready to help. Membership includes unlimited towing in your home area with no distance or dollar limits, fuel delivery, jump starts, and more. Plus, members receive exclusive discounts on fuel, electronics, dockage, boat insurance, and other boating essentials. With over 500 ports nationwide, Seato has you covered wherever you boat. Join today at seato.com/great days. Seato, your road service at sea.
All right, you guys. I hope y'all enjoyed that offshore report with Captain Zach Castro. I learned a lot about trolling speeds and some other things that are obviously critical to catching tuna and other species offshore. But I want to come on back into the bay and catch up with one of my favorite guys, Captain Travis Kemp with Foolproof Sport Fishing out of Carolina, but he shows up here in Virginia every single day faithfully. How are we doing, Captain Trav?
Good, man. Just stuck in traffic right now, but we're all right.
Well, that sounds like you're on your way home. How long is your commute every day, back and forth?
You know, I get that question almost every day living in North Carolina, but it's only like 37 miles. With no traffic, it's 35 minutes. With a bunch of traffic, it can be an hour. Depends on the day.
Well, that's not too bad. Days like today, you just be thankful you got your AC cranking and a little time to decompress before
Absolutely.
getting home to the lady and the pup. But man, how's fishing been for you so far this season?
Man, we've been plugging along. It's been pretty consistent. Some days it comes real easy, and some days it's a grind, man. It's just usual fishing. July can be kind of one of those months where it can get a little grindy, but today it came a little easy, which we're thankful for. And cobia fishing has been pretty good, better than last year, I think. I don't think it's as good as 24. Definitely better than last year. And finally, we got some big drum showing up, and consistency. They're there every day, just about, that we can go catch them.
I know they're one of your favorites. You've got quite a few trophies and titles to your name, surf fishing for drum. Do you enjoy it just as much catching them from a boat?
I like catching them, man. Any kind of fish, bluegills, the blue marlin. I don't care how we catch them. I like catching fish.
That's a great attitude and outlook to have. And remind folks that are listening, what kind of boat do you run? What's the setup like?
I have a 25-foot Southern Cross made by Carolina Yachts. She's 2018, got a lot of hours on her, but she does me right.
There you go. Yeah, those things are stable, man. Those Southern Crosses are the perfect platform for fishing in the bay, especially if it's one of those days where it can get a little rolly. You get that afternoon southeast blow and an outgoing tide. I mean, it can get a little squirrely for some narrower beam boats, and I'm speaking from personal experience. But those Southern Crosses, man, you just feel super confident up there.
Yeah, it got a little squirrely for about 2 hours today, but when the tide was ripping out and it started blowing out of the east, but we never had any worries with it.
That's right. And everybody downstairs is pretty comfortable. You got some of that nice EVA foam in the bottom of your boat. That makes a big difference for the toll on your body after a long day of fishing.
Yeah, some of it blows up a little bit. We need a little maintenance day, but it's definitely nice to stand on for sure.
Well, I'll have to get you in touch with Mr. James Anderson with Deck at Hampton Roads. They do a really awesome job, and that foam is so hardy. It's tear proof, it's waterproof. Big difference between like the Sea Deck and Deck It is the closed cell foam is actually waterproof because it's got more plastic in it. And I can speak from personal experience. Like you get like fish juice and blood and some guts, and you just hit it with the hose and it runs right off, and then it's pretty much bone dry with a couple of minutes sitting in the sun. Well,
the stuff I have now is aqua traction, and it's like 6 years old, but the glue is pretty much gone.
Yeah, it's all about the application from what I'm learning. And the product, of course. But tell me, with the cobia fishing lately, I mean, you guys are pretty consistent with your cobia catching. Have you done anything different this year in terms of bait or presentation, where you're fishing? Anything unique or different this year from years past?
Not really. I mean, it's you can go just about anywhere in that bay, and if you spend enough time staring at the surface, you're going to come across to a couple of them. But there's certainly things you can do to put yourself in a better position. I mean, we like to fish, ledges and channel edges, and anywhere there's bait is obviously a good place to be, or rays. Things that life likes to cling to life. So if you see rays and bait, you should probably be fishing around there.
Right. And are you fishing more, trying to think, tide wise? Are you focusing more on certain tide cycles and putting yourself in certain positions based on tide cycles?
I know that certain fish have been coming up on different tide cycles, and it doesn't really seem to be a pattern to it here lately. I mean, a couple weeks ago, the outgoing tide, everything was up. In the last 3 or 4 days on the incoming tide, everything's been up, and it's the bay side for both tides. Typically,
Interesting.
Typically I like to be on the bay side on an outgoing tide, and on the ocean side on an incoming tide. Things like to be in that current. But here lately, it's been flip-flop, which is, there's no rhyme or reason to it that I can figure out yet. But
Yeah, that's bizarre. I know the other day, or not the other day, was it the weekend before? Hold on, I'm getting my days mixed up. Uh, it was a Saturday and a Sunday, I think, last weekend, and it was just really dead all the way around. And I remember talking to Andy Kim and a couple others, and we just decided to shoot out on the ocean side. And there was a little bit of bait and some fish were in bait balls. And then, of course, the next day, the Omega boat sucked it all up. I'm curious, have you seen much bait or ray life since over the past week and a half to 2 weeks?
the last couple days of fishing, we've had some in the bay, a decent amount of bait. But today, 3 o'clock, when I was, making my way back across the bay, there was 4 or 5 Omega boats heading there to go take care of it.
So frustrating. So frustrating.
It sucks, man. It does.
Yeah.
And selfishly, we want all the bait to ourselves. It's just one of them things, man. It just sucks.
Yeah. It does.
I just feel bad about whatever's in the bait ball that gets bundled up and either sinks to the bottom or sucked up and never counted,
Yeah. It feels like when bait comes into the bay and the water starts to get clean, it's that feeling of like spending several hours like carefully stacking dominoes. And then like before you get the chance to like get everybody together and go like, hey, come check this out. Here comes Omega just slapping around and kicking your dominoes and ruining everything that you worked so hard to carefully build. It's the best analogy I can think of. It's like, gosh, man, we've everything finally comes together and we're ready to actually just enjoy it. And then boom, it just gets, erased, which I feel like that has to be confusing for the fish to like be hanging out with bait. And then all of a sudden the bait's gone. And then they're like, well, what do we do now?
Yeah. I mean, all morning this morning, the bait was down on the outgoing tide, and around 2 o'clock, switched incoming, the bait came up, and here they come. I'm going to get them.
So talk to us about that, because I've noticed that where like you'll be driving along and it's like slack tide or the very end of a tide or the very beginning of a tide and water's not moving much yet. And you'll see a big cownose ray or you'll see some bait, but it's like 2 feet below the surface. Do you look at that and go, okay, the fish are probably going to be at the same depth. I need to slow down how fast I'm looking?
Yeah, absolutely. You see things like rays and bait. You probably need to hang out in that area. If they're deep, you need to, you got to understand that at some point in time, whether it's today or tomorrow, that's a good place to be, because if they come to the surface, if the rays come to the surface, the fish will come to the surface. It's usually just how it works,
Yeah. I know you're kind of like a self-proclaimed fishing nerd in the sense of like you get into the books about it. What, in your opinion, from what you've read, if you've researched this at all, what is the sort of thing happening in the water column that causes these cobias to decide, or the rays, for example, to decide to swim closer to the surface where pretty much every other species of fish kind of swims down in the water column?
Well, I think, that's like one of the questions that if everybody had the answer to, it'd make our lives a lot easier. But
Right.
we don't necessarily know the exact science behind it. But personally, I think that the fish are moving around, migrating around, and they have a direction they want to be going. And when they get the tide against that direction they're going, it makes it easier for them to come to the surface. If they just glide up or glide down, when they're going with the current, I think it's easier for them to, stay deep, less likely to be on the surface. Just my thought, but I don't know.
Yeah, I had a friend.
I wish I knew that answer.
Right. I had a friend drawing a diagram of a airplane wing and explaining lift to me today. And you were just talking about the going into the, oncoming current, planes take off and land into the wind, to get, lift. And so that makes a lot of sense that like they're kind of swimming against that incoming tide, and it just naturally lifts things up towards the surface. Where are we today? Are we still team? Well, I can't remember. I know Austin on Fineo is still team circle hook. I can't remember. Are you team circle hook or team J hook these days?
I'm still team circle hook. I pulled a couple off, but team circle hook, I'm sticking by it. It's been way too good to me.
And which particular circle hook and size are you using these days?
I actually just bought a new pack. I've been using the Eagle Claw 10-Os. I like the 9-Os, but you can't find them anywhere. The 9-Os that are not the extra light wires, the regular L2004s.
Okay,
but
got it.
The ELF, I've been getting the 10-Os, which is almost the same hook as the regular 9-Os.
Got it. And do you like to hook your eels the traditional way, like kind of through the bottom jaw and out the eyeball, or do you do something different with the circle hook?
Yeah, no, same way. At the bottom, in the bottom jaw and out the eyeball, or sometimes I'll do the like through the scruff of the neck. But if it's really windy, I like to do that because it's harder to cast them off.
Yeah.
Go through that neck skin, makes it where you can sling the crap out of them, it won't come off.
Right.
But, I think they swim the best, and they don't eel ball, and they're just better for working the eel when it's on a fish that doesn't just jump on it. If you got up through the jaw and out the eye. Yeah,
and that you just mentioned something that I've unfortunately had forgotten my first trip this year, but keeping that bait looking and presenting lively. When you throw an eel, it's been good that they're eating them this year, but when you throw an eel to a cobia, what's your like standard process for inducing a bite?
Yeah, you're asking for big secrets here, man.
This checks in the mail. You broke down the side of the road and you don't have CETO or whatever. I'm your guy, but give us maybe a little teaser. What do you like to do?
I like to keep the eel up where you can watch the fish eat it. I don't like to just open the bail and let it swim down and hope that it bites. My biggest thing is trying to keep the eel up and watch the bite happen.
Yeah, and then
almost like a jig would.
Yeah, that makes sense. And is it hard to have the discipline to like be patient with the circle hook? Because obviously you can't just jam them.
The biggest problem with the circle hook is a fish that swims towards you. Once he eats the bait and he's swimming at you, it's hard because if you reel it, you're good chance you're going to reel the hook right out of his mouth. Because with a circle hook, you just reel tight, let the rod load up, and then you can bury it in. If a fish eats and goes away from the boat, you're good to go. But he eats it and he just sits there looking at you.
Yeah,
you got to have that patience to wait until he turns his head away from you because he'll just reel the hook right out of his face.
That's hard to do. I can think of a lot of fish that I've been like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I pulled that off. And then when I do sort of a quick mental debrief of what just happened, that fish was definitely looking, right at my face, and I did not wait for it to turn. Switching gears though, you do a little bit of mackerel fishing, and we've got the Hooked on Hope mackerel tournament coming up. I think it's August the 8th. right around the corner. Has the mackerel fishing picked up from what you've seen out in the bay or along the shorelines?
Day before yesterday, actually, I wasn't mackerel fishing, but they were jumping all over the place from all the way over near ODU Reef to all the way out to the Thimble Shoal Channel. I saw them in the ocean side of the second, and I saw them at the CY buoy. Everywhere I went, I saw them.
That's encouraging.
They were just jumping all over the place. And then I've heard from some friends of mine that are hardcore on the mackerels that they've been biting really good at Cape Henry. And believe it or not, had some friends fishing the beach yesterday, surf fishing, and got on a really, really good mackerel bite down south of Dam Neck, around Sandbridge Market area.
Interesting. So it sounds like they're
some big ones too from the beach.
What constitutes a big Spanish mackerel?
A big one is 4+ pounds in my opinion, but a good one, a good mackerel is 20+ inches.
Okay.
You'd be happy with a 20+ inch mackerel.
Right. Yeah. So similar classes of flounder. You see anything over 20 inches, you get excited. Yeah. Well, I don't know much about mackerel fishing.
We had some good mackerel fishing. Last week I had one trip where we actually did some mackerel fishing. We got our cobias early. Everybody called a citation drum, and it was like, what else can we do? So, deploy the mackerel rods and try to put some more meat in the box. And I think we trolled for 30 minutes, and we caught 8 mackerel and 4 bluefish. I mean, just 2 rods, and was able to do that. So, I mean, it's pretty good.
Well, you kind of answered my question, which is like, so you troll for them. Do you just troll anywhere, or are there specific types of like depths or things, structure, or can you really just kind of set out a troll anywhere and they're just kind of around, so to speak?
Well, my personal opinion is I like to troll like around structure, like either the bridge, the islands, there's some town nets close to the beach, any kind of ledges, things like that. Stuff that holds bait is going to hold the mackerel. Wherever the rain bait can hold up and feel comfortable, that's where you're going to find Spanish.
Got it. And they just like to eat those little flashy silver spoons that you kind of have to leave them behind like a little inline sinker, right, to get them down where they can see it.
I usually, if I'm going serious on the mackerel fishing, I'll run 4 rods. 2 of them are with a number 1 planer.
Okay.
And off the number 1 planer, you got to have, you don't have to, but if you don't want a big mess, I use a ball bearing snap swivel to the planer, about 10 to 15 feet of 30-pound mono, a barrel swivel that's a ball bearing swivel, and then another 8 to 12 feet of fluorocarbon, and then you put your spoon on there. Those 2 ball bearing swivels keep you from having a big old mess.
And the ball bearing swivel, I mean, I feel like this is something where like it's easy to look at a pack of swivels in the tackle shop and you see 2 different price tags and it's like, oh, this is a swivel, this will work. But tell our listeners, like, why is it that a ball bearing swivel is so critical for this setup?
Well, using a ball bearing swivel will save you $30 of fluorocarbon. So don't cheap out on your swivels.
Right. Because it actually will allow the thing to spin. Whereas like a traditional swivel, I feel like once it's under any sort of tension, it doesn't really spin.
Yeah. And that spoon is just down there spinning, and it'll spin your line all up if you don't have that ball bearing swivel. You want it to be able to spin freely and not twist your line all up into a big old knot.
Oh, I know. That's such a mess.
I use 2 rods with the number 1 planer, and usually I'll do 2 with an inline. Just a 3-ounce, 2-ounce, 3-ounce inline sinker in the same kind of setup, with the ball bearing swivels and the fluoro.
Yep, that's a very good tip right there. And then lastly, I'm just curious, the drum, have we seen them starting to school up yet on the surface? I've only seen it one time this year, and I feel like it was like a luck of the draw thing where I was just kind of cruising along trying to get from the second island to the third island, and boom, there they were. But it was like late afternoon, and it was kind of rough out. Nobody was around, so I don't think they had any pressure.
Rough?
And when I say nobody was around,
rough? No way.
There was nobody.
There's no way it was rough out there.
Oh, it was very rough. That afternoon southeast when the tide is ripping out creates a very special kind of chop that'll just I've got a couple of photos of the pictures I took of it, because we hooked two and got them in the boat, and these guys had never even caught a fish before, so it was like mind blowing to them. And they took the pictures with live, and if you hold down the picture live, you see the entire boat like flip like 60 degrees from one side to the other, and it like shows you just how rough as dirt it was. But yeah, are you seeing them on the surface much, or are they kind of like doing their typical thing where you got to find them on the bottom?
It's funny you asked that because I actually caught drum out of an open water school today.
Now we're talking.
Between the second and third on the ocean side, I ran into a big old knot of them on the surface, and
That's
we
awesome.
got everybody a citation, and then we moved along.
It's hard to describe how fun that is, but like to you as a charter captain, like what goes through your mind when you got people downstairs, maybe you've caught like 4 or 5 cobias, which is a grind, and then you see that school of drum, like what typically goes through your mind?
We're very thankful for that.
Yeah, it's because
very, very
like,
thankful to see that big school of drum. Yeah, it's going to be action for the people, and they fight hard, and it's very visual. They can see what's happening, and a lot of times you can get a rod in their hands, and even the inexperienced fishermen, a lot of times they can get after it and catch a couple.
Yeah, I was going to say the only way you don't catch a drum out of a school is by throwing all your rods and reels in the water.
I don't know. I've seen some open water schools that wouldn't bite nothing. It happens.
Really? Oh, wow. That's
yeah.
That's
yeah.
painful.
I've had open water schools of drum that you could not catch. It's very frustrating when it happens, but it has happened.
I think the most exciting drum bite I've ever experienced was like ocean side of the first island, and there was crabs swimming on the surface, and there was a school of drum around, but they were not on the surface. They were like 15 feet down, and you would just be sitting there, and it was slick glass calm. You could see your reflection.
They're coming up popping crabs.
Yeah, and you would just hear the pop, and you would look, and it was like almost like sonar, where you'd like look for the sound, you'd locate them, and then you'd like race over there and try to get a jig in the water as fast as you could because you knew that's where the school was. And it was so much fun to just like throw a jig in there and let it sink down, and then give it a couple twitches, and if you were careful, you could actually like bring the school up with them. It was a ton of fun. I'm getting excited just thinking about it.
Yeah, drum are a ton of fun, man. It's probably my favorite fish there is.
That's awesome. Yeah, as you talk about drum, I'm picturing all the pictures of you wearing your waders, holding a giant drum with your 17-foot long surf rod next to you. How many titles have you won, and what are those titles for the drum?
Shoot, man, I've just tournaments, surf fishing tournaments, pier tournaments over the years. We've done a lot of them. I got a big old bin full of plaques and trophies underneath the bed I ain't looked at in years.
That's awesome. That's definitely a fish that you love to pursue. That's for sure. And then remind our
Especially
folks.
from the beach.
Yeah, remind our folks how they can follow you on the social media and how they can book a trip if they want to get out there on that Southern Cross with you.
Foolproof Fishing on Instagram and Facebook, and yeah, I still don't have a website. I know I suck, but or you can give me a call. 252-435-5967. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of.
Beautiful. Yeah, and if folks are watching and paying attention to some of the Instagram content, I get excited. I'll flip through the gram and I'll see different things along the way. But if I flip through Foolproof and I see something that says X, I immediately stop because I know I'm about to see a gigantic cobia. Because you got this cool classification of XL, XXL, and then the occasional XXXL. Remind us, what are those categories? So an XL is typically how big?
An XL is an over 50 incher, release citation fish. The
Roger.
2X is over 55.
Roger.
The 3X is over 60. And then the only like one time a year you get the 4X, which is over 65.
Ooh, Lord. Yeah, that's a special fish. Okay, got it. Understood. I should have known there was a actual like scientific metric to it. So apologies for just not starting with that question.
No.
Well, man, anything that you want to share with our listeners before we wrap up that we didn't cover?
That just about covers it. I mean, I'm pretty pretty booked up for the summer. I got a few dates left open in Cobia season in September.
Okay.
But I am going to be booking inshore trips for puppy drum, speckled trout, and the big drum, bottom fishing big drum in the end of September and into October. And
Beautiful.
I do every now and then I'll do these like 3 and 4 hour evening drum trips throughout the summer. So if anybody that's interested in those, let me know.
Roger that. Yeah, it's a lot of fun to get out there and do that evening drum bite. I've seen a lot of folks go out in that and do that. Well, Captain Travis, thank you for coming on and giving us an update on the cobia bite, the drum, and of course Spanish mackerel. Like I said, that Hooked on Hope tournament's coming up, and you guys heard, follow him on social, Foolproof, and then also that phone number to get a hold of him. Look forward to catch up with you soon, man. Tight lines to you.
Absolutely. You have a good one, Luke. Thank you for having me.
You too, Captain. Folks, that's going to wrap up this week's episode. I hope you learned something. Captain Zach, Captain Travis, they both are students of the game. They really like to dig in and learn the intricate nuances of what makes fish behave certain ways and how to catch them. So if you're either new to fishing or you're trying to learn how to fish or get better at fishing, these are the guys you want to book a trip with and get out. You will learn something. Guaranteed. Even if you don't catch something, you're going to learn something, but you'd be hard pressed not to catch something. Y'all be safe out there. It's been hot. Make sure you're staying hydrated out there. Electrolytes when you're exerting yourself a lot. I've actually had some times where my hands lock up, and it's because we can sometimes get so fired up that we sweat ourselves to the point where we're dehydrated. In fact, that happened to me on a drum school one time. Till next week, y'all be safe out there. We'll look forward to talking with you real soon.
Pure Flat slick lures are tried, true, and guide approved. Slick lures catch big speckled trout, redfish, flounder, and more. You can cast them a mile, and they produce a highly erratic bait fish imitation with a twitching retrieve. The tournament-winning slick has helped many anglers set personal best records. Whether you're fishing the OG slick, the smaller profile slick junior, or the versatile lil slick, one is sure to find that unforgettable thump we're all after. Visit your local tackle retailer or pureflats.com for your favorite color and rigging combination. Go sling some slicks today. You can't catch them on the sofa.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Black Buffalo products are intended for adults age 21 and older who are consumers of nicotine or tobacco.
If you're 21 or older and use nicotine or tobacco, it's time you charge ahead to Black Buffalo, America's only credible smokeless tobacco alternative. Black Buffalo dips just like the real thing, but without the tobacco leaf or stem. Get it now at Wawa, Circle K, Sheetz, Love's, Pilot, Racetrack, and many more that you can see on their store locator at blackbuffalo.com. Black Buffalo Tobacco Alternative is everything you love about dip, nothing you don't. All right, y'all, that's going to wrap it up this week. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember, to get your free AFCO Camo Sunglasses Cleaner Cloth, text the acronym LCBFR to 779-345-2918 to get your promo code and be added to our email list so we can send you the new show each week. You guys keep on whacking them and be safe out there.